this first of proposed quarterly meetings. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth, for recording.
Oh, yes.
The first of our online quarterly meetings that we are hoping is a place to just to help get us all updated and oriented on a periodic basis as committee chairs and priority group consultants. And I'd like to turn it over first to Elizabeth Serrano, our ALSC staff, who's hosting us today, to give us a little bit of housekeeping.
Hello, Elizabeth here. So just some housekeeping. I see everyone is, I can see some people are raising their hands. I'm going to assume that you are just maybe playing with the function for now. But yes, there are two options to participate today. There's going to be this chat option, and then there is going to be option for Q&A. At the top, I'm going to say around the top left-hand corner of your screen, you should see the chat and then the Q&A option. So you can direct your questions to the Q&A and then continue in the discussion in chat if you prefer the chat. The second option to participate is at some points we will be open for discussion, and I will be unmuting some folks. So if you raise your hand and you'd like to be unmuted, we can do that at certain points of our discussion. As I unmute you, I'll let you know. So that way you can begin by introducing yourself and the committee you're a part of or the priority group that you're a part of. So this is brand new, and I hope that this makes sense. Please let us know if you have any technical questions in the chat as we go along. I can try to help with those. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I just want to encourage everyone to play around. Don't be scared about about this platform. This is a picture that we're all in a room together in an echoey convention hall, and that we're having a good time. We're excited about this format because it should allow us to really have conversations and ask questions fluidly together online. It allows us to record the meeting so that we can share it with people who can't be here. But I anticipate that only other priority group consultants and chairs will be looking at this recording. So we can take housekeeping stuff throughout this meeting because this is kind of a test run. I see Jamie's not seeing a participant list option. Everything looks a little different depending on what kind of computer you're on, we're finding. So on my Macs, I have a black bar across the bottom that has some options. There's one that says participants, Q&A, chat. And if you click on participants, you get that should pop up in a sidebar, or in some cases popping up in another window. You may be in full screen mode, in which case if you kind of send your mouse to the top or the bottom of your screen, you may get the black bar pop up with your options. I was having trouble on one of my Macs getting those options to pop up in full screen mode, so I just hit escape to exit full screen mode, and then I found all my options. So there's a little bit of background. Elizabeth, let's move to the agenda slide. And here you see the agenda that I sent out earlier. I've added some timing notes to this. I'm just going to give a few updates. We'll be talking about ALA Connect and what our options are and practices are for working virtually. And as we discuss that, I just want to acknowledge that we have some committees that operate fully virtually, but pretty much all of our committees now operate virtually at either at some point in time or completely. And so it's an opportunity for us to get all on the same page about that. We'll go over some of the reporting forms that we updated recently to see how those are working or not working for you, and also just do a reminder about some of the committee resources that are out there on our website for you, see what's missing. And then we have a time for open forum and questions, and this can really be about anything. Some of you may have announcements from your committee or questions you want to ask other committee members or leadership. And you can also sing Total Eclipse of the Heart. That is acceptable at this meeting today. All right, so let's move on to a few updates from me. If we can go to the next slide, Elizabeth. I just want to remind everybody that the National ALSC Institute program proposals are due now September 5th. There was an extension on that. The link is there if you need it later. Also, we'll be sharing out this slide set with all of you as a separate slide set after the meeting, and all those links are live. So I put a lot of links in here just for you guys, so you don't have to take notes. Please do consider putting in an Institute program proposal if you've not talked about it with your committee yet, or your committee may have ideas for people to reach out to suggest program proposals. And those can be submitted through the online form from the Institute webpage. We are also still accepting mentor and mentee applications through September 1st. And I want to thank all of you who responded when I put out a call for mentor applications. Ideally, we will always have at least as many or more mentor applications as mentee applications so that we can find a match for all our mentees. Usually it's the other way around. So it's really, really helpful to have you volunteer to be a mentor. I know many of you are. It's a really great way to meet other ALSC members, and I've always found it helpful to understand, to get a picture in detail of how different library systems and scenarios operate differently than the one I'm in. So mentoring, it can be as much of a learning experience as being a mentee. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth, for that update. We have 40 mentors. That's great. So thank you. The community forum held last Monday was recorded, and you can find that on our community forums page. The presenters, Nicole Cook and Jessica Ann Bratt, also left us lots of resources which have been added to our professional tools page. If you scroll down to the equity, diversity, and inclusion section of that page. And my last update on the next slide, Elizabeth, is just an update on my fall travel schedule. I'll be going to a bunch of conferences in the next few months. I will be tweeting out about these on the hashtag ALSC Tour. And if any of you will be in the area or at these conferences, or know of members that I should connect with there, or libraries I may want to stop in and visit, I invite you to let me know. Oh, hi, Matt. I'm glad I will see you there. I was hoping I would. I am really looking forward to meeting ALSC active or potential ALSC members at some of these conferences, and also letting everyone know what I find out. Hoping to make some good connections at many of these. All right, so those are my updates. Let's move on to the next slide. And I wanted to talk a little bit about ALA Connect and where we are. We are in the middle of the gray out period, so we are waiting for Connect to come live. I put 2 links there at the top of the page. There's not a lot of information on each of them yet, but the link to the beta site is there that just kind of shows you what it looks like and gives you an overview. And there's also, in the old Connect, there is a page with a table of contents of all of the training videos that will be offered. None of them are totally linked yet, but that's a good landing spot to go to And if you visit it, you'll see that they have a series for members, and then they have a series for committee chairs, and then there are other more advanced series for staff. But there will be at least 2 series of training videos once it goes live. And since this kind of changes daily at this period, I wanted to turn it over to staff for a moment to let us know where things are with the Connect transition. So I will go on mute for a second.
Okay, so as Nina said, the new ALA Connect platform is expected to launch on the 31st. Our technology department is really hard at work developing training resources. The new Connect site will offer some upgraded features such as contacts and network features. You'll be able to approve or request to be someone's contact, kind of like what you would do on Facebook, and be able to see their profile and the work they're engaged in on Connect. The network feature automatically connects you to other members based on your location, title, or company, which is pulled from the information you supplied in your profile. So you are highly encouraged to fill out your profile as much as you can. Your profile will include sections like your bio, education history, and interest. And we're excited about these features as they'll allow for members to find each other easier and connect faster. There is also an enhanced email interface which will send alerts when something has been posted to any of the groups or committees you are involved with. You'll have some options to view what has been posted, reply to the group or to the sender straight from your email, and also access the sender's profile directly from the email. The new ALA Connect has improved content and member search capabilities. The link to some training videos and the beta site are, as Nina said, is available on this slide. Please begin to look through the beta site and get a feel for the new version. There are also archived training videos at a link that I will provide in the chat box once I can stop sharing this. Excuse me while I pause this share for a second. There that link goes. And now let me share my screen again. Oh. Sorry, that was a little messy. But yes, so this is all new and exciting as we approve our online platform for member engagement, and we will share out some more updates as they come. In the chat. Checks and balances. Hi, Christopher. I'll get back to that question as I'm not 100% sure, but I will make note of that question.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And just a reminder here, do start asking your questions. Now is fine. You can ask questions in the chat or through the Q&A, or by raising your hand if you'd like to get on mic, and I encourage that. If you would rather just ask a question or share some information via audio. So I know that staff are meeting regularly on the new Connect as it's being developed. So it is a good time to ask questions that we may be able to get answers for later. And at this point, I'm just going to kind of move into items 2 and 3 on this screen, and this is kind of opening it up for discussion. So, excuse me, I need to cough. You've heard from Elizabeth's description, and you'll see if you peek at the beta site that the new Connect will be a lot better for members actually finding each other and talking to each other. And from what I've seen, it feels like it will be a better way for people to explore different committees and working groups within ALSC as well as within ALA. I do think that will be nice in terms of getting the word out about what our committees do and making things transparent to members who are looking to get involved. I've found in making appointments that a lot of members just have had a hard time figuring out what a committee does. They have our ALSC webpage that has the charge. We have the page of survey responses to what does that ALSC committee do. That is very, very handy, but contains limited information. But what is most helpful, I find, for members to figure out what you guys are doing is by reading your reports or seeing what other products or outputs you're able to share from your committees. So there will be document repositories on the New Connect so that we can share that information and hopefully find it more easily. I'm really hoping it works better for that. One thing that the New Connect does not have that the old one did was a chat feature and a voting feature. Elizabeth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that will be something that we are that is something that many people were not using already because the old Connect chat didn't work very well. At this point, I kind of want to open this up for discussion around best practices for holding virtual meetings. Thinking about ALA's open meeting policy and trying to make committee processes available to members in a reasonable way. Thinking about how we report out and share our information so that it's available to members in a reasonable way, and also not allowing things to be flexible and fluid for committees so that you can work within the constraints of your schedules and get some work done online. I wonder if sorry, one more thing, and then I'll ask you guys a question. On number 2 there, I put a link to our wiki, which is our best practices for virtual committee work, which just has some basic guidelines and maybe something that we can that can be updated once Connect is updated and we have some more information. But just to remind you guys that that's a resource that's there. I wonder if committee chairs would like to share if you have a system for either meeting or sharing out reports or sharing out minutes that you feel works well, or if you just want to share where you're holding your online meetings. You can either put your comments in the chat, or you could raise your hand if you'd like to share via audio. And I can't see in Zoom as I could in Adobe Connect if there are people typing or not. So I'm going to assume that some people are typing to share. So Africa is saying that I think this is Advocacy and Legislation Committee. Met via conference call and uses the doodle poll for group meeting dates and then posts the minutes to ALA Connect. Thank you guys for sharing. I'm just reading through these. So it looks like a combination of Hangouts and calls, a lot of Google, which I suspect is something that many of us may continue to use. Elizabeth, as people are contributing, sorry you guys, this is messy meeting. We're just showing everything as we go along here. I'm just realizing it might be helpful. These details are helpful, but I might also just, can we do a really quick poll? I'm not getting a poll option now on my bar, but I'm wondering if we can quickly poll to see who uses phone meetings versus chat meetings.
Unfortunately, the poll, it would have, the questions needed to be pre-populated.
So I will do that for next time. Okay.
Oh, I saw someone raise their hand and then it went down again. So
okay. So Christy, thanks everybody for putting these in here because this will be handy in the recording. And I see that Christy, that Estrovitz saying that the Public Awareness Committee was using ALA Connect, then moved to Google Hangout and is now using Zoom. I wanted to point out that Zoom is accessible in a free version, but it is in the free version, it's limited to 40-minute calls. But it does, as Christy say, have the phone, video, and chat features, as does Google Hangouts. And I just want to make sure here that also everyone is available, that Google Hangouts is accessible if you don't have Gmail, as are Google Docs. That you can create a Google account based on any email address that you have, and you don't have to connect it to a Gmail account. So that you just go to Google to create an account, and you can use your own email. The Google Hangout is probably the most it's the most easily accessible, flexible platform that I'm finding people are using because so many people are on it. So Katie has asked, what implications are there for our open meetings with using Google or conference calls? And the answer is I don't know. ALA has an open meeting policy that that seems mostly to, well, that all meetings except for one specifically designated as closed, like our award committees, or if a board goes into executive session, should be open and accessible to members. That's why they are all printed in a schedule and in the program, so that people can find them. I am not sure, and this would be a question, Elizabeth, that maybe could be addressed in the Connect meetings, that about how people are interpreting the open meeting policy with virtual meetings. I know that there are just a ton of virtual meetings happening that aren't being officially publicized. I would say, to me, in the meantime, once we see how the new Connect works, I think that it would be ideal if we can figure out how to post a meeting schedule and have them accessible. It could be as simple as, if it isn't doable otherwise, somebody can contact a chair and ask for the link to a meeting, or to be invited to a meeting so that they can listen in. But Africa puts an important point in the chat that we can do a better at publicizing in advance on Connect. And I think also a key piece of this is sharing out the results of our meetings. in a way that's accessible to any member. So thank you all for sharing your ideas of where you are, where you've been meeting. So Slack has come up as another online meeting platform. There's a question about downloading. You'll note that Zoom required you to download something. Although it was pretty straightforward, it can be a barrier, especially when you're switching over onto a device. I think that Dropbox and Zoom require a download. I don't know if Slack does. If somebody who uses Slack can address that in the chat, that might be helpful. Google is all online. Oh, thank you. Okay. Are there other questions about where and how we can be doing our meeting work online? I'm seeing a question from Andrea about Slack and its advantages versus Hangouts. I wonder, is there someone who's used Slack and would like to raise their hand and jump on audio to talk about how that works?
If anyone wants to jump on audio, just raise your hand. Oh, Christy, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move you over. Hi, Christy. Oh, there's video.
Hi, this is Christy. I haven't personally used Slack, but my colleague Christina Nitra, who chairs school age services for ALSC, has used Slack recently, and she really likes the feature that it's a chat platform, and it saves the chat so it's easy to share. It's easy to invite another person to join the chat or read the previous threads. So she's really finding that to be a useful tool for her committee right now.
All right, thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
Sure.
That's really helpful. I know that just another mechanical piece of all of these online meetings and sharing out information is that if you have a meeting that happens by email or chat, you have a documented thread that's handy and accessible to the committee members. It doesn't, however, provide any meeting minutes to others, and I don't want to ask everyone to suddenly start having to take a lot of minutes that you haven't been taking, but just as a reminder that it is very helpful to do a short set of notes, at least following a meeting, as action items for the committee, and that can be shared with other members. Vicki is adding some information about one issue with Slack, that unless you're a paid subscriber, you may lose your chat transcripts. Katie asks if we should be sending meeting minutes to anyone in ALSC. No, your meeting minutes are, here is where I'm hoping that we can get some further clarity on the open meeting policy. I feel that it is best practice to keep meeting minutes among the committee to make them accessible, and then you have your minutes to in order to compile your quarterly report. And the quarterly report is the piece that gets sent to ALSC, gets reviewed by leadership, and it's received by staff and leadership as they come in. So when you when you send it to the ALSC committee's email, staff receive a copy and I also automatically receive a copy. So I see those come in through my email and I can peek at them right away. They also get compiled for the board meeting packet so that the board members can review them and so that all members can review them in the board meeting packet. Those board meeting packets just come out twice a year. So that is why we also ask, as you send in your quarterly report, that you share it in Connect and make it open so that anyone can see it. In the old Connect, and Elizabeth, I don't know if you will know how this is if this is gonna work in the same way, but right now in the old Connect, your committee's Connect page was tied directly to your committee's web page. And so if you look at your committee's web page on the ALSC website, you'll see a section that says Public Posts from Connect. And if you uploaded your reports and marked them public, then they show up there. And so that's a way that that members who are interested in your committee can easily see it. And I don't know, Elizabeth, if you have a sense yet if Connect will talk to the website in the same way, or if we're just going to try to get people to explore committee work directly in Connect.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I would assume that it will talk with the website since it's a new version. It's more interconnected and engaging, so we can check back with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so in a moment I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is kind of related, but start to move out of specifics of Connect and platforms. But I do have as follow-up to get some clarity around the open meeting policy as it relates to virtual meetings, and ask specifically about notices for meetings and sharing minutes. And are there any other questions that you would that you have about Connect that we may be able to explore as it as the information starts to come up about it? All right, if it occurs to you later on in the meeting, feel free to ask. And Elizabeth, if you would go to the next slide. Thank you. I wanted to ask some questions about the reports and forms and resources that we have on our website. Make sure you guys know where to find this information and also get a sense of what's working and not working. So I want to thank you all. All of the process committees this year did, with very late notice, a new report for the May 15th quarterly report. And in lieu of a quarterly report, we were calling it a year-end report and work plan. And we did that as we finished our strategic plan because we needed to get, well, we did it for two reasons, but in the short term, we needed to have a sense of what committee plans were for the coming year as they directly related to the strategic plan in particular, so that we can establish our budget. The budget was finalized and approved at annual conference for the coming fiscal year, which starts September 1st. The ALA works on a September 1st to August 31st fiscal year. And I expect Amy or Paula will jump in and correct me if I get any of this wrong. But Paula's thanking us in the chat for getting those reports, and it was helpful for our annual budget planning so that the budget committee could make some recommendations on what goes in there. And as you as a committee are working on things that may have a budget implication, it is never too soon to start asking about how you make that happen. Every committee has a small budget for incidentals. I think it's $100 a year. That's outlined in the division leadership manual. And that is, so that's already accounted for in her budget. But if you have projects that may have larger budgetary or staff resource impacts, that's something to start asking about right away. You can, and the budget committee can work with you on identifying a specific budget request to go and where the timing for that might be. So that was part of the reason for putting together that year-end report and work plan, was that we needed that information really fairly quickly in order to fund line items to move forward our strategic plan in the coming year. But also because it is just the right time of year for us to do it on a regular basis. And what we did essentially was we embedded the budget request form inside your year-end work plan and quarterly report. There is a separate form on the ALSC form page just for budget requests, but and that can be submitted at any time of year. But we just folded it right into that year-end report and work plan. And so I want to take a moment to ask how people felt about that work plan. It was the one that came in a Word document and had you talk about your plans for the coming year specific to the strategic plan. If there are any things that you felt were confusing in that document or could be helped, that's something that we can work on as we revise that form. Excuse me. And as you're thinking about that form, and Elizabeth's reminding us that you can chat chat in the chat box or raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and you can ask me to clarify a question at any point too. We also revised the regular quarterly report. Africa's asking if there's a link to the form. I didn't put it straight in there. If you, I thought about opening it here, but it was fairly detailed. If you Google ALSC forms, or you use that link on the screen to go to ALSC forms, all the forms are there. And Amy just put the ALSC forms link up for us. Amy is reminding us that if you're an incoming chair and you didn't see the prior committee's form, to let staff know, and we'll be sure to get that to you. We also revised the quarterly reports to be to have the regular quarterly reports to have information directly related to the strategic plan, and also just to prompt you for the sort of information that's most useful for us in a report, and also guiding you to the kind of follow-up that you may need to do for your questions. We also separated out the quarterly report forms. There's one for the award committees and one for the process committees, because we realized you guys sometimes have slightly different questions. I don't expect anyone to necessarily remember what everything that's in the reports right now, and we did go over these a couple times at the priority group meeting in detail. So this is just to say, if you have questions about these forms, you can ask your priority group consultant. If there are anything with the experience of doing these forms that can be improved in terms of prompts to remind people where they are or when they're due, I welcome that feedback or questions about it now. Going forward, we really do hope to see the reports come in, and as they come in, get shared on the new Connect. So that's why I brought it up just following the Connect discussion, as it is a really, really helpful way to share out what's happening in the committee. Besides the quarterly reports, I wanted to just remind everyone of some of the committee resources that are available on the website. So I'm just going to talk through these links. We can actually pop some of them open at some point, but let me just outline them. The committee resources is a section of links that is on the page of the first page for ALSC committees, the one where you see all the priority groups listed at the top. And if you scroll down that screen, you see the committee resources. Elizabeth, let's actually open up that link so we can see it. So here's the ALSC committees page, and Elizabeth will scroll down, and then you see committee resources. And right now my screen share is so small I cannot read them, but you guys probably can. I had to switch over to my laptop. So you have the best practices for committees. You have the process chair orientation webinar. It's never too late to watch that if you haven't had a chance to do it yet. You have the committee work plan template. There's a form that you could use as a tool to help plan your work plan for the year that helps you guide you through some process thinking. There is a link to ALSC forms as well, and the Division Leadership Manual. Both of the Division Leadership Manual is, remember that as your go-to if you have a question about how you're supposed to get something done, what your budget is there a form for that? Those questions are all going to be addressed for you in the Division Leadership Manual. And let's go ahead, Elizabeth, and click on ALSC forms at the bottom there. So again, any form that we expect you guys to be sending in, you should be able to find here. And so there is that board action request form that I mentioned, the quarterly report form for award committees and for process committees, and the year-end report and work plan. Are there any questions about what to do with these forms, where things are, or something that you're hoping to find that you haven't been able to find on the website? You can raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question on audio, or you can put something in the chat box. This is mostly me talking and just kind of reviewing what's out there. So I know it will take everyone a little bit of time after the meeting probably to review this, and we'll send out those slides so that you can have the live links and just go through them. Thanks, Christy, for that note. I find it helpful to just walk through these links and remind myself of information that's there. And wherever you find something that's not working, or where you see a process could be made a little clearer or streamlined, we really do welcome that information. Some things are easy fixes. Our website advisory committee is always working on ways to improve our site, and I think once we see the new Connect, it'll be a lot clearer on how we can improve our website to be more in sync with our with the new Connect and with committee needs. So let's go back to the slides at Elizabeth and go to the next one. That was committee reports and resources. So last bit of this meeting is really just open forum and questions. Hoping that at these meetings, if we picture ourselves in a room, that we can use this opportunity to check in with each other with questions that we have to move forward on specific projects for our committee, or to talk to or ask questions of other committees about work that you might need to collaborate, that you might be wanting to collaborate on, or just to make some announcements for what you have up coming up. And I want to just invite committee chairs at this point to put, if you have any questions or announcements, to go ahead and maybe raise your hand. This could be a time to share via audio, or type a little update or a question into the chat box. And if we don't have any questions or announcements, we can start to close up the meeting quickly, but I want to leave it open for a few minutes as people think about whether there's something they'd like to share or ask. Do we still need additional mentor applicants, asks Matt. Elizabeth gave us an update on that, saying we have 40 mentor applicants, but I am assuming that we always need more. Elizabeth, would you like to address that?
Yes. So yes, we are open arms for mentors, for mentees. Last time I checked the numbers, I think we were at about 42 mentors compared to about 38 mentees. So we're doing pretty good. But yes, still continue to apply and help us promote the program. It's open through September 1st. Thank you.
And Mary Fellows is giving us a reminder to submit your applications for the Distinguished Service Award. Thank you, Mary. And Hannah Lee from Grants Administration, spreading the word around Penguin House Young Readers Group Award scholarships. Open through October 1st, and you have not received any applicants. Are there any other committees with open calls right now that would like to post your open call and a link? Now is a really good time to do it. Katie's asking, when is the expected opening of ALA Connect? I feel like they said the end of the month, and maybe we're purposefully vague around it. But Elizabeth, can you give us an update on where that stands right now?
Yep, August 31st.
Okay. Other questions or announcements? All right, I'm going to invite, I'm going to ask Elizabeth to put up a quick poll that we prepared at the beginning of the meeting, testing out the polling feature of Zoom, and also trying to get a sense of how useful this format is for you. So if you guys wouldn't mind all just giving us a little feedback in the poll. I invite you also to offer me direct feedback by email after the meeting. And hoping this will be a useful place for us to exchange updates, questions, and information on a quarterly basis. I've been listening to myself talk a lot. I don't like talking into a mic. This is why I'm a terrible person to talk to on the phone, but it's nice to see all of you guys on the attendee list. I know you are each doing a lot of work for ALSC on top of your daily work, and that's much appreciated. I really want to make sure that we're supporting you in your work by giving you adequate forum for feedback and questions. So let us know what you think, and ask your follow-up questions to your priority group consultants. Give me a little feedback by email, and I'll see you guys online. I think that's it, and this meeting is adjourned. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We still have a few more votes coming in. 22 of 31 so far voted. Thank you, and thank you for not choosing never again. 23 of 29.
Elizabeth, I'm not going to submit the poll, so you don't have to count me.
Oop, all right, so 100% voted. So it seems like everyone who is still with us voted already. Thank you so much. Thank you. All righty.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for trying this out with us. Have a good rest of the day.